Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro has arrived in the United States after being captured in a U.S. incursion.
Hundreds of people joined for a silent march and a mass in honor of the victims of the Swiss bar fire, which left 40 dead.
Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro has arrived in the United States and was brought to the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York, where he now awaits trial on charges of narco-terrorism. Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores were taken from their home in Venezuela's capital city of Caracas in a dramatic U.S. military operation that Maduro's government called imperialist. Following the operation dubbed Absolute Resolve, U.S. President Donald Trump said his country will run Venezuela until a safe transition and take control of its vast oil reserves. The U.S. intervention received a mixed response internationally. While many European leaders welcomed Maduro's arrest, allies like China and Russia called for his release. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed concern that international law was not respected. The legal authority for the incursion, done without congressional approval, was not immediately clear, but the Trump administration argued the ouster was necessary to combat drug trafficking.
The leaders of Spain and 5 Latin American countries issued a joint statement on Sunday rejecting the U.S. military operation which captured Venezuelan President Maduro and his wife. Spain, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico and Uruguay also warned against exploiting Venezuela's natural resources after U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. would tap the country's vast oil reserves to sell to other nations. The statement said the U.S. military operation in Venezuela had violated international law and represented a dangerous precedent for peace and regional security. Meanwhile, the European Union has so far refrained from openly criticizing the US and has instead called for restraint and respect for the UN Charter. Hundreds of people gathered on Sunday to honor the victims of the New Year's Eve Swiss bar fire that unfolded in the town of Crans-Montana and left 40 dead. Families, friends, firefighters and those who came to show their support gathered for a Sunday Mass, while others followed it on a screen outside. Pope Leo XIV sent a message of condolences, which was read during the service. The crowds then came together for a silent march up the hill towards the place of the tragedy at the bar Le Constellation. The Valais Cantonal Police announced that 16 new victims were identified, most of whom were aged between the ages of 13 and 25. Meanwhile, Swiss authorities have opened a criminal investigation into the 2 managers suspected of involuntary manslaughter, intentional bodily harm and arson. Investigators said they believe sparklers on champagne bottles may have ignited the fire when they came too close to the bar's ceiling.
The British Defence Ministry has announced that its aircraft carried out joint strikes with France on an underground facility in central Syria, allegedly used by Islamic State militants to store weapons and explosives. The strikes occurred Saturday evening on a structure in the mountains just north of the historic town of Palmyra in the country's Homs province, according to the ministry's statement. The British military used Typhoon FGR-4 fighter jets supported by a Voyager refueling tanker, and used Paveway 4 guided bombs to target a number of access tunnels down to the facility. Syria's government, which joined the US-led anti-IS coalition late last year, had no immediate comment on the strikes. Despite its defeat in Syria in 2019, IS sleeper cells still carry out deadly attacks in Syria and Iraq, where the extremists once declared their caliphate. Last month, the Trump administration launched military strikes against IS in Syria in retaliation for an ambush attack near Palmyra that killed 2 U.S. troops and an American civilian interpreter.